Good morning, everyone. Today, our guest speaker for Hanamatsuri is Reverend Blayne Higa. He's the resident minister of the Kona Honganji Buddhist Temple on the Big Island of Hawaii. And at the Kona Temple, Reverend Blayne is practically a local boy since he was born and raised on the other side of the Big Island in Hilo. And prior to his being assigned to the temple in Kona, Reverend Blayne had served as an assistant minister in the Mo'oli'i Honganji Buddhist Temple and as an assistant chaplain for the Pacific Buddhist Academy, both of which are located in Honolulu. And before he entered the ministry at all, Reverend Blayne spent over 17 years in the state government and in nonprofit fundraising. And he holds several degrees, starting with a Bachelor of Arts degree from Willamette University in Salem, Oregon, master's degree from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and a Master of Divinity degree from the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley, California, which is where I had the good fortune of getting to know Reverend Blayne. He's a pretty smart guy, as evidenced by all those degrees he holds, but he's also super friendly, very kind, and has a great sense of humor. And I can personally attest that he lives both the spirit of aloha and a life of nembutsu every day. And today, Reverend Blayne joins us via Zoom, but we hope that he'll be able to visit us in person at our temple in America's finest city in the not too distant future. But for now, here's Reverend Blayne with his Hanamatsuri message for the Dharma School.
Thank you, Smitty. Good morning and aloha, everybody. It's a pleasure celebrating Hanamatsuri with all of you. Thank you to my dear friend, Reverend Smitty, for inviting me to share with you today. Celebrating the birth of the Buddha is always a special time for us as we are reminded of this wonderful story of transformation and hope. And don't we really need hope even more in our world today? In the sacred story of the Buddha's birth, the baby is said to have taken 7 steps and declared, "In heaven above and on earth below, I am the most honored one. I shall dispel the suffering that fills this world." As we know, this probably didn't happen, but the story is rich in symbolism and meaning. The 7 steps signify that he would go beyond the 6 realms of suffering and take the extra step into the awakened life of a Buddha. His announcement proclaims his future attainment of Buddhahood, and it also reveals the desire of the Buddha to help all of us understand our own potential for enlightenment. The flowers that adorn the Hanamido reminds us of the beautiful flowers that bloomed in Lumbini Garden that day. Flowers also remind us of the beauty and the impermanence of life. The sweet tea that we pour over the statue of the baby Buddha symbolizes the fragrant rain that fell from the sky at the time of his birth. As we know, water is a source of life and symbolizes purification. This ritual is called kanbutsu, or bathing the Buddha. By doing this, each year, we recreate the scene described in the sutras, and we become part of this sacred story. How does that make you feel? Isn't it fun pouring tea over the Buddha? Doesn't it feel good to be connected to the life of the Buddha? Doesn't this closeness help us to appreciate the Buddha, his teachings, and our temple family even more? The story of the Buddha's birth offers us hope for living in these challenging and uncertain times, that we too can cultivate wisdom through our experiences and realize a dynamic life of awakening. The ongoing pandemic has impacted our lives in so many ways, hasn't it? Doesn't it feel good to be together again in temple? Later this morning, my own temple, we will be celebrating Hanamatsuri as well. You know, for example, you know, our temple preschool has done a wonderful job of adapting to the numerous COVID safety guidelines to keep our teachers and students safe. However, one of the guidelines is that the entire school is not able to be together in one place. And so because of this change, one of the things I miss the most is spending time with our preschoolers during their monthly temple visit that they used to do pre-pandemic. Greeting their joyful faces at the door, sharing a story, and talking with them was truly the highlight of my day. You know, despite being there to learn from me, I always came away with my heart full and lessons learned. Let me share with you a story from the Buddhist tradition that reminds us of how there are teachers within and all around us. Many centuries ago, a young novice monk traveled alone in the mountains of Tibet. He wandered about penniless, begging for a meager meal from time to time. One day, just as evening fell, he found himself on a bitterly cold mountain pass. But there, tucked in a high alpine meadow, he noticed a small home. He knocked upon the door. When it opened, a grizzled ancient couple greeted him. They welcomed the young monk into their home, allowing him to escape the icy mountain wind. Because it is an honor to feed a monk, they cheerfully readied a wonderful supper for their guest. At some point during the meal preparations, the old man went outside to herd his cattle into the night pasture, and the old woman went to fetch some water at the well. They left the young monk alone tending the fire. But suddenly, shouts from the house echoed from cliff to cliff in the mountain meadow. "Thief! Robber!" They heard the young monk call out. "Get out and never come back." The young monk created such a noisy tumult that the old man and woman hastened back as quickly as their old legs could carry them, pitchforks and hoes in hand, to deal with the thief. So when they burst through the door, all they saw was the lone monk, flushed as a berry, running around the table, slapping his right hand and cursing himself. On the table was an open tea container with a few leaves scattered about. "Thief," he admonished his right hand and held it high. "If I ever catch you trying to steal a little something again, I will be rid of you." The old couple looked at each other and chuckled at the young monk. They served him a fine dinner and offered him a warm place to rest for the evening. The monk bowed respectfully and thanked them for the generosity, but he wanted to resume his homeless life that very night. Before he left, however, the young monk pronounced that on that evening, in their house, he met his inner teacher from whom he would never again part. And he thanked the old couple and went along his way. So, who are the teachers in your life? And what lessons do they share? How does the dynamic working of the Dharma teach us about ourselves constantly through every moment of the day? A continual life of learning and growth is the spiritual path that the Buddha taught. This is why we celebrate his birth, offering our gratitude for the life of universal awakening that he shared with us. You know, children by their nature are natural teachers. With open hearts and minds, they teach us how we should be, how we can be. As adults, many of us have forgotten how the happiness of another person is directly connected to our own. We often think of happiness as a pie that we reluctantly share because we want to keep more for ourselves. Children, on the other hand, naturally understand that happiness is not a finite resource to be jealously guarded, but rather is limitless and should be shared freely. The Buddha teaches, thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Every year, our preschoolers participate in the Great Kindness Challenge to help cultivate a culture of kindness and compassion throughout the world. Last year, they made and delivered floral arrangements to businesses in the neighborhood, waved signs along the highway in the front of our temple, and created links of recycled paper, which were joined together to create the world's longest paper chain, all connected by messages of love and hope. Amid the ongoing pandemic, these little ones teach me how we should treat and care for each other. They remind me how truly effortless being kind and compassionate can be. Children implicitly understand how we are profoundly connected by love, and they demonstrate it with every fiber of their being. They spontaneously live Amida's golden chain of love. They naturally keep their link bright and strong. They're naturally kind and gentle and protect all who are weaker than themselves. They naturally try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, words, and deeds, understanding that happiness of self and other are connected. Happiness inspires happiness, just like how one candle can light 1,000. In the busyness of our lives, can we take a moment to relearn these simple lessons that children are so eager to teach? It could also be that I am just simply missing being hugged by 30 preschoolers as we say goodbye at the end of our time together. But maybe that in itself is a remarkable lesson indeed, as we have experienced the pandemic and the isolation. Please join me in Gasho, and let's recite the Buddha's honored name in gratitude, in joy, and awareness. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Thank you.